You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. And today's episode is entitled Black America Again. And this is Common.
Yeah.
This is 2016 Common.
2016 Common.
And it's featuring the great Stevie Wonder.
Absolutely.
Wrap him in bubble wrap.
Yes.
Stevie Wonder. Live forever, Stevie Wonder.
Everyone respects him. To this day, we're singing his happy birthday song, which is interesting because that was dedicated to Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
When they wanted to act like we don't want to recognize him.
Mm-hmm.
So he decided to create something to recognize him. That's why.
And that's the birthday version that we sing in my household.
I know that's right.
Yeah. All right, so this is 2016 Common, the rapper Common. And this is off Common's 11th studio album. And this debuted at number 25 on the Billboard 200. So shout out to Common. He's been in the game. Yeah. Chicago's own Common.
Here we go.
All right. You ready for them? I'm ready for them lyrics.
I'm ready for them. Here we go. Check this out. Hot damn Black America again. Think of Sandra Bland as I'm staring in the wind. The color of my skin, they comparing it to sin. The darker that it gets, the less fairer. Let's just listen to this last line. The darker that it gets, the less fairer.
There's no that. It's just the darker it gets.
The darker it gets, the less fairer it has been.
Yes.
The less fairer it has been. Let that sink in.
We might say the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Mm-hmm. But this one is the darker it gets, the less fairer it has been. So what are we talking about today? So this episode, we have a secondary title for today's episode. Yeah. It is, what does the 250-year celebration mean to foundational Black Americans? And this is kind of a rip off of Frederick Douglass and what he penned many years ago, which was, what to the slave is the 4th of July? Yeah. So what to the foundational Black American is the 250-year celebration? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Because we are celebrating in this country, these United States of America, we are celebrating 250 years of independence from the King of England, King George, I guess was the third, King George III, our independence from Great Britain, and this being colonies that came together to say we're going to be the United States of America. And this democratic republic and this democracy that we're experiencing here in the year 2026. Yeah. So 1776 to 2026, 250 years of America.
Yeah, and you know, it's bittersweet because we're in America, in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things where it's like we want to be excited and happy because it's a Philly thing, but you can't really because we understand what America is standing on. It was founded upon, and someone built it. We built this, but when we talk about freedom, it didn't necessarily apply to the people who built the country, and so it's bittersweet.
Bittersweet. That's a good way to put it. Bittersweet. So here we are. I mean, we're in Delaware County, and filming today's podcast, and Pennsylvania, specifically Philadelphia, the birthplace of American democracy.
That's right.
I don't know if you've ever been doing the sightseeing in Philadelphia and you've seen Independence Hall, Independence Mall, and you've been to all the places in which the Declaration of Independence was signed. And you got Thomas Jefferson writing that thing, and you got Ben Franklin signing on that thing. Right? Did you do all those tours? Are you from Philadelphia? Did Philadelphia students tour that?
I don't think a lot of Philadelphians kind of did all of. You know, that's one of the things. You know, I hear from even New Yorkers the amount of, you know, viewing locations that they have and sightseeing locations that New Yorkers be like, I live here, I don't care. Yeah. But then you have some people who love the idea of doing tours and walking around and seeing what, you know, their city has to offer. And every now and then I do go to certain locations, but I didn't do the 250 stuff. Yeah. Shout out to Philly though.
A great financial impact for the city of Philadelphia. Shout out to Mayor Parker and all the money that came into the city for FIFA, World Cup that's coming to the city. What are we laughing about this?
Nothing at all.
Okay. Shout out to Mayor Parker. The financial impact of the 250 celebrations, FIFA World Cup coming into Philadelphia, and our economy.
Yeah.
The hotels were busy, the restaurants were busy, public transportation was
It's a lot
busy.
of money.
People made money. I hope that it trickles down.
That's the part. It was a lot of money to put it on.
Yeah, a lot of money to put it on. Did it make a profit? Let's find out. Let's
Yes.
find out if it made a profit. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So today's episode, again, Black America again, and we're talking about what is the 250th anniversary celebration of this nation. What does it mean to the foundational Black American? Number one, let's start off with this, because this is a new term that I think I heard of in the last year. Foundational Black American.
Yeah.
So what does foundational Black American mean to you?
The original people here. It's not the. I shudder to because it's a deeper explanation in this fight. It's fighting because of who are claiming foundational Black Americans, but the indigenous Black Americans that can claim that was, that's
the founding of this nation.
the founding of the nation. So that's what I mean. I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, I guess to me, foundational American is more like, there's immigrants that are coming from Africa. Here, there are immigrants coming from Haiti, immigrants coming from Jamaica into the United States in the 21st century and the 20th century, who did not experience slavery, chattel slavery in the United States of America. I know folks like myself who we can trace our heritage and our belonging to this country in the 1700s in New Orleans and Louisiana. So for us, I consider myself a foundational Black American. I've been here a long time. I've been here before this was the United States of America. My family has been here.
Yeah. But that's the thing. When you think of foundational Black Americans, you think of the people who built the country, the true people who the lineage of the enslaved Black Americans.
Yeah.
That's how they're defining it. But there's a lot of infighting saying, well, who deserves, when we talk about reparations, who actually deserve reparations? It's that conversation that's been happening. But I lean to the lineage and the ancestors of the enslaved.
Yeah. Here's a fun fact. My last name is Kenner.
Mm-hmm.
When you fly into New Orleans, what's the name of the city?
I don't know.
Kenner, Louisiana.
Interesting. Okay.
So, when we talk about the etymology of words and where things come from, my last name is Kenner, and it is Kenner because the Kenner family of Louisiana owned my family in the 1700s.
Do y'all have a charter?
Of the family?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. There's been a book written. We've done some writing of books and stuff, trying to get back and make sure we can document all this. But yeah, 1700s, my family's been here.
Wow. Do you have a crest? Do you know?
No, we do not have a crest that I know of.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, why would we? Why would an enslaved family have a crest?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Wouldn't have. I mean, the Kenner family, the white Kenner family, probably has a family crest.
They probably got a stamp too.
Yeah, they got a stamp. They got an airport. They got a city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They got plantations still there too. Okay. So foundational Black Americans, 250 years. So again, we're taking this rip off of Frederick Douglass, who penned a great piece ahead of the 4th of July that said, "What to the slave is the 4th of July." So when we talk about celebrating 250 years of this nation, let's start on the positive. Yeah. What are some positive things that we can celebrate about this nation for the last 250 years?
Interesting.
Is it a trick question?
It may be, because everything that we can say that we are no longer enslaved, right?
Right. I'm happy about that.
But then you can say, when we talk about systemic racism, we still are quote unquote enslaved. So whatever we say, generally, it can be the other side, or can be argued that that's not a good thing, right? Let me see. I could say when it comes to Philadelphia, we're the birthplace, right? So that's essentially a good thing. But when we look at some of our unhoused folks and people who are marginalized in the city, you would say we the birthplace. Why are we faced with poverty as much as we are? That makes no sense at all.
Are you going right to the negative? Come back to positive.
That's what I'm trying to. I'm trying to think of all the positive stuff.
I mean, if you listen to Donald Trump, he doesn't want us to talk about the negative things of this nation. He wants us just to embrace the positives. So, I guess the positive thing, this is why this is a topic today, right? Because what is positive, what's worth celebrating to one community, another community does not have that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what can we say is pot?
I mean, I guess that this is a nation, and it's the freest nation in the world in terms of its government. We have a representative democracy here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can.
We're free from the King of England.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a constitution that
Who-
grants us inalienable rights as of after civil rights movement of 1960s.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have what about healthcare?
I mean, we should have it. It should be a right, but it's not. Yeah.
What about education? Free education?
Free education. I mean, not.
No.
Yeah, not.
I'm still trying to.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about you at home, or wherever you're watching today's episode of Slingshot the podcast? For those who want to, clap back at us and say, if you don't like it, get out, because that's the comment section.
Yeah.
You don't like this country, get out.
I love my country though.
List out all the things that foundational Black Americans should be grateful for, and don't tell me we should be grateful we're not slaves anymore. That's not even a thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's not go there. So go ahead and help us out. What are you grateful for? If Black Americans watching, foundational Black Americans watching today, what are you grateful for? I mean, we are living in the freest country in the land, for sure. We're the greatest nation in the land. I'm going to rock with that.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
But it's taken us a lot of work to get here.
Yeah. I say America is the birthplace of hip hop.
Yeah.
I could say that, but they say we pull some of that
African beat.
So we can't really say it. But this is what I'll say though. Let me define this for those who are watching and never even heard foundational Black Americans. I'm gonna define it for you, right? Because we talk in the peer group, we kind of give loose terms and definitions, but I'm gonna define it for you. So foundational Black Americans usually means Black Americans whose lineage traces directly to people enslaved in the United States, especially descendants of U.S. slavery and the freedmen, which is important. The freedmen, you might hear freedmen. That's the reference. Okay. In practice, the term is used to distinguish Black Americans with long U.S.-based ancestry from more recent Black immigrants, which is where the fighting comes into, right? Black immigrants and their descendants. Supporters often use it in discussions about reparations, political representation, and the specific history of Black Americans in the U.S. Yeah. So that's where the fighting come, right? And it's hard.
Is it a fight though? Who's fighting?
Oh man, some of the circles I'm in, man, it gets rough, especially when who consider themselves Black. So that's where the argument thing comes from, right? And so if we're saying that if we're fighting to say that Black people are being marginalized, and it's another group that look like us and saying, well, we're not Black and we don't understand or we don't coincide with some of the issues that you believe that you're faced with, and that goes along with voting. And so when we start talking voting and we see who voted for who, some say, well, I'm voting for, maybe the MAGA side because the Black folk are saying or talking about racism and we don't see it. And so that has become a discussion. People feeling or don't want to coincide with their Blackness, or they don't even use the word because it says it robs them from their culture, which I can see that, and I can see the argument. That's just to give you context on what the argument is. And so two sides to a coin.
I mean, the argument is moot in a sense that race is a social construct. So if it wasn't for the fact that we have to put folks into race categories in this country, we wouldn't even have Black versus Black foundational versus African American versus Afro American versus Negro versus all the things that it has been throughout history in this country.
Agreed.
I prefer I'm Black. I don't say African American. I say Black. Yeah. I am foundational Black American though.
Yeah. As am I.
Family been here since the 1700s, at least. At least. Okay.
So you'll get the reparations.
I will get the reparations.
If
And you know what else I want? I want that plantation my family was working on.
Yeah, I know that.
That's also what I want.
I still want my 4 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule?
Yeah, 40 acres. Yeah, I still want it. Yep.
Okay.
Give it to me.
All right. You know, since we're talking about 40 acres and a mule.
That's legacy, generational wealth. So
did you ever watch Little House on the Prairie?
I did.
Who was any favorite characters on that show? That had to been Laurel Ingalls, right?
Yeah. Which one went blind?
Oh, that was the sister. I forget her name.
Yeah. I think that was my favorite.
That was your favorite character?
I felt bad for her.
Yeah. You know, I watched the remake of Little House on the Prairie. It's on Netflix right now.
Oh, goodness. Mm-hmm.
I could tell you one period in time I would never wanted to be born in, which would have been that period. It was rough living.
It was rough. They was scruffing it.
Yeah.
You know, who was the oldest child in Different Strokes? What was his name?
Yeah, Willis.
Yeah, what you talking about? Was Todd Bridges. Todd Bridges played in Little House in the Prairie, right? And it was one scene, and that's the scene that I always remembered when he was like, well, I don't want to be a nigger or something like that. They call me a nigger. If you was that, what would you? And I was just like, wow, it just blew my mind. So you guys have to watch that.
Oh, yeah.
Google search or go on YouTube, Little House on the Prairie, Todd Bridges scene or something like that. Yeah, it was cool.
I remember those episodes.
Yeah.
And I remember Todd Bridges. I remember them being in a schoolhouse together and him learning.
Yeah.
Right? So that was like an integrated school.
It was.
Yeah.
Back then.
Back then. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the 250-year celebration of this country. We're going to be joined by my colleague, Dyneco Gibson, and she is Deputy Director of Programs and Organizing. And she's going to talk a little bit about what organizations and what folks are doing to help celebrate this 250 years. And so stick around. We'll be right back. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power, at New Millennium Multimedia Studios. Welcome back. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. And today we are talking about what does 250 years of this nation mean to you in an episode that's entitled Black America Again. 250 years. So we are joined by my colleague, Dyneco Gibson. So she's going to jump in here. We're going to ask a few questions and see how she feels about 250 years of this United States of America. But before we get into that, a little breakdown about why maybe some of us feel like there's not too much to celebrate. So there's been a study done that kind of determines on a scale of 0 to 1 what makes for a democracy, what makes for a free nation, and where does America rank? America ranked in a scale between 0 and 1. It used to, at its highest peak, this is like early 70s after the Civil Rights Movement, it ranked around 0.75 on the scale of 0 to 1. It is now currently, under this current administration, at a 0.57. So halfway towards a true democracy. What makes up a true democracy? A true democracy is made up of free and fair press, right? That is free from anybody determining what they're allowed to say or not, whether or not citizens are participating in elections, whether or not they can actually cast ballots, makes up a free and fair election. If people are really feeling as though that democracy is working for them. These are some of the things that make up, on the scale of 0 to 1, what would be a democracy, who is living in a democracy and who is not.
Okay.
So when we talk about Black America, we definitely have not been living in democracy in this nation for most of the years that we've been here. And again, as we got to the highest point of a 0.75 on the scale of 0 to 1, this was immediately following the Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s. Actually, it came into like the late 70s and early 80s when we're truly seeing democracy for Black people. So the question I ask is, when were Black folks truly free and truly able to participate in democracy? What year was that? Or what happened to cause that for us?
That's a hard question for me. I don't have the answer. I can't give you an answer because maybe I'm too woke, but I still believe mentally we're still enslaved. I do believe that we're still under a racist system. When we talk about systemic racism and how we act, how we respond, even to understand what wealth is, wealth that was taken away from us, that we never received, never gotten back. You can't say that. I can't answer it.
Yeah.
Can't answer it.
I mean, a historian might say it was the year 1965 when the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed, right? And at that point, when we open up, we're considered citizens in this nation at this point.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to have the freedom to vote without barriers.
Which we don't.
Yeah. And with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 continuing to be assaulted and diluted, we're not having a deepened democracy.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Dyneco, you work for a voting rights organization. You lead a program of voting rights and civic education. What's the word on the street? Do the folks that you're getting registered to vote, do they believe that we're living in a democracy and that it's working for them?
No, many times we're hearing on the ground, and it goes back to, it depends on who you're asking, but many folks that look like me are not feeling like they're represented, their voices are heard, that the needs of their communities are being met, and if you would ask a Candace Owens, she might have a different response.
Look, you mentioned his girlfriend.
No, I didn't say. That's my girl, but I do like that she holds herself accountable, and she's a smart sister, man. I'm not,
But she's also someone that doesn't believe 100%. That
100%
Black folks are owed anything, or that that we often pull the race card.
100%.
And so I don't always feel like she truly gets it. And I don't know if it's because of where she lives, what company she keeps.
You won't get an argument from me at all, because I agree. I agree to that. I do. Yeah, two things can be true though. I agree to that. I think that she has. I think she's coming around, and I think that she's seeing certain things, and she went on record saying that she apologized and she was absolutely wrong about Donald Trump. And that was big of her, because most people was telling her like, yo. But I believe that, that's a very intelligent sister, and when you're that smart, I think you start to peel back the layers yourself. Do the reflection yourself, and you realize sometimes how much you overthought things. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna agree to disagree on a lot of what you just said regarding Candace Owens.
Well, I think about our young people who are experiencing the attacks on the HBCUs.
Yeah, that part.
I'm thinking about the DEI and how many Black folks and women, especially, lost their jobs. And all of those things directly affect our community. And America says it's to protect all. But even thinking about the Constitution and how much of that applies to us and how much that applies to other folks. Mm-hmm. And all the things that need to be put in place to protect us, that folks are saying, no, you don't need these protections.
Yeah.
The organization Dyneco and I work for, right, the New Pennsylvania Project, was founded to service those who have been historically disenfranchised, right? And so who are those people? These are the people who have needed an act of Congress or a constitutional amendment to have the freedoms that white men have always had since the founding of this nation. So if your community needed the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, the 19th Amendment, if you needed the amendment that said 18-year-olds have the freedom to vote following 1971 and during the Vietnam War, we center communities such as this because they needed additional support to actually make America free for them and democracy realized for them. So let's not get all this confused that 250 years ago, who actually had access to the ballot? Who had access to the ballot 250 years ago? Who was the only community?
White men.
And not only just white men, but white men who did what? Or had what?
Had slaves.
had
money.
the
land,
money. Yeah.
had some land, right?
Had some land, had which equated to money, which
Yeah.
ultimately were people. I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
not
so
get me
white
started.
land owning men are the only ones who truly had access to the ballot
Yeah.
in 1776. And it took until 1965 for black folks to have an act passed that is now being diluted and destroyed
Yes.
to feel as though their lives will not be in jeopardy if they go out and vote, who didn't have literacy tests hanging over their heads or grandfather clauses or guess how many jelly beans are in this jar if you want to vote today, right?
Wow.
And so, history, 250-year timeline, freedom for one community for 250 years, experiencing freedom for black community the last 50 years. And we're kind of backsliding right now.
Backslide, that's right.
And they're also replacing those literacy tests and counting the jelly beans with you need to have a you need to have a birth certificate to vote. You need to have a passport. Many obstacles and challenges again that uh, black people need to have to just go cast the ballot
Yeah, I've
or
even
cast a
heard.
vote.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I even heard challenges with recently divorced women who's trying to get their name back and can't because they have a different name which doesn't match their birth certificate. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
So you both are speaking to the Save America Act. We'll be very clear at the time of this taping. The Save America Act is not law. It is right now some legislation that the Trump administration is really trying to push through rapidly that could change the outcome of our midterm elections on November 3rd this year. The SAVE Act is not law, which means you do not need a birth certificate or a raised sale birth certificate or a passport in order to vote right now. You can still get to the polls, particularly in Pennsylvania, with your voter registration card, with your state issued ID, with a school ID, with a utility bill. Those still all work quite fine for election day.
And what are we hearing on the ground, though? Many folks are believing that um, they need all those things now to vote, and so it's really overcoming educating folks on this misinformation that's out there.
Right.
The damage has been done, and how do we fix that? And especially in a place that's supposed to embrace everyone. Not the case.
And that's the point, and that's the challenge, right? Because you mentioned something. So Kadida mentioned we were talking about the Save America Act, but to some that's already enacted, and so the misinformation, the propaganda that's surrounding it, and the rhetoric shows that it's people believing the things that they're hearing, and which is inaccurate. And so
I mean, the bad actors are winning right now. They're winning the disinformation war because when you have Pennsylvanians, particularly, who right now believe the SAVE Act is law, and so Dyneco, who leads our programs team, who does the voter registration, you have people saying, "I can't get registered to vote. I don't have my passport."
That's right.
And your comeback to them is,
"It's you don't need a passport." No.
But if they're not even going to attempt to get registered to vote because they heard somewhere on TikTok, they heard somewhere on Instagram, and they never heard that this is not law, we are suppressing votes. We are disenfranchising people, and we are suppressing votes.
I agree.
We got a lot of work to do.
I think you have to be louder. I think it needs to be, one of our beloved mayor's favorite words, unapologetic, when giving out the information. I think that it needs to be louder. That's the only thing that's going to break through the noise. So it has to be louder. It has to be unapologetic, and it has to be something that appears for those that look toward following leadership. It has to be something that looks cool, right? And so we have to trust our leadership. So who is that? Which is the problem and the challenge now, because there used to be faces to quote unquote, I hate to use the term look up to, but there used to be leadership where you had people could say, I follow that information because it's a trusted source of information. It appears we don't have that anymore. So that becomes a challenge. Who do we listen to? So people, God, or leadership becomes their phone and social media.
Yeah.
One thing in our organization we talk a lot about is being the trusted messenger. And who is that? And it's folks in our community who who look like us, who can we can count on to give us that information that's accurate, that information that we know that we can trust. And a lot of times rumors spread like wildfire, and trying to dispel it or trying to say, that's not true, that's not what happened. It's harder to take all of that back. And so really being able to, yes, hold our elected officials accountable, and they should be giving us this information. But it's really, we talked about earlier, the churches, places where, my parents, would get a lot of their information, thinking about who are those folks, block captains and all of those people that can really share this information and educate folks.
Yeah. Before we go to break, I want to ask your opinions on this. So, 250 years of the United States of America, we're celebrating the independence of a nation from being colonized by another great superpower, Great Britain at the time. And I'm so disappointed that I can't feel this joy that some experience when they talk about 250 years of this nation. I think about those that went to Washington, D.C. to attend the events that the Trump administration put on for 250 and how politicized they made that. And they put so much partisanship on it that a person who just wants to go and enjoy this country couldn't feel like they could do that. And I really think that that's a big miss for our nation, that in our 250 years of this nation, we couldn't all feel like there's something to celebrate. And I felt that that was a shame. So, did you want to attend a 250-year event? Was there something you wanted to go to?
I didn't, and it's interesting that you mentioned how it was politicized, right? How some of the messaging was politicized, which is that's the reason, right? I focus on hyper local news, hyper local information, because you're there and you're touching it. So no one can change the information that's given to the people by way of the people, from the people, directly to the people, right? And so when I get into the idea of media now, me being in the ecosystem of media, television, film, you know that there's a lot of rhetoric, and you know that there's different sides and misinformation, honestly, on both sides. And so I just try, for me, is I'm torn when it comes to celebrating the bigger picture versus me looking at Miss Johnson on a corner on a block who is doing the best that she can for her community, and people respect her because she's still considered the block captain when she don't even have the title, right? She's the unofficial block captain because everyone look at or listen to Miss Johnson. But then you have Miss I don't know, Miss Jones, who can't even get to the voting booth, don't know when it's time to vote because no one wants to go on, knock on doors anymore. No one wants to talk to people anymore. No one wants to share a loaf of bread anymore, So it's a lot of things that has changed in the neighborhood. So my focus has always been the hyper local ecosystem because of the rhetoric and the politicization of certain news and journalism. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Did you want to attend any 250?
No, I really didn't. I didn't feel like the celebration belonged to me, or I was even a part of it. I still was wanting to celebrate Juneteenth, and that feeling of belonging, connecting, and also hearing white folks say, "Hey, you don't need to be. We don't need you to be celebrating Juneteenth. That's not important." And it's challenging because you hear in the comments and social media how people really feel about Black folks. It comes out, and it's really hard to uh, digest, and it's really hard to understand. But it makes me want to cling on to something that feels good to me, and that is Juneteenth. That's where my celebration came from, or wanting to celebrate and support Black businesses all year long, but especially on Juneteenth.
Dyneco and I just got back today. We went to a swing out west, Western Pennsylvania, and we went from Philadelphia to Erie. So from one corner of the state all the way to the top other corner of the state, right? 6-hour drive. And my navigation, because one of the roads had some traffic and some construction, my navigation took us all back roads.
Oh man, now that's scary.
All back road from
what you doing
by the
over
time
here?
we hit Penn State College. After Penn State College, we hit all back roads, not a single highway, interstate. And the word that we used for what we were traveling through is
Sundown Town.
We were traveling through Sundown Town.
Yes, you are. Unless you get you met some of the Amish. I mean, they supposed to be some of the safe spaces.
Not going that way. I mean, they're more Lancaster County. We're going the whole other.
Oh, y'all going the other way?
Yeah,
wow,
all the way up.
Wow, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
So you needed your green book then.
We needed a green book.
You needed your green book.
What were we seeing on the road? What were we seeing in people's houses, on their lawns?
Yeah, Confederate flags, Trump signs. And my mom, I feel like I'm experiencing some of the same things she experienced in Mississippi. How many years ago? And so the fact that it's even a thing and that we even have to be concerned that, we're in a space that we're not wanted or that we could be harmed. Even getting a call from your parents and saying, hey, are you with someone? Parents shouldn't have to feel that way. And we shouldn't have to feel that way in America that says, they support us and they embrace everyone. Land of the free, home of the brave.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more. Because if you both remember some of the 250-year celebrations that happened in D.C., there was some really bad weather and folks had to take shelter someplace. So when we come back, let's talk about where they took shelter and how the ancestors are still talking to us. We'll be right back. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast. This is more than just a podcast. This is a movement to inspire and motivate and mobilize. This is for those whose voices have been unheard, misunderstood, undervalued, and underserved. We're going to talk about sports, culture, entertainment, and we're going to use this to build power in our communities. Okay, we're back. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. And we got a little play on what has happened in the past. Frederick Douglass and his piece that he wrote, a very long form piece, a very brilliant man, born enslaved, a brilliant man who said, what to the slave is the 4th of July? And today's question is, what to the Black American, to the foundational Black American, is the 250-year celebration of this nation? So before we went to break, I'd alluded to the 250-year celebrations in D.C., and the weather has just been wild here across in Pennsylvania, in the Atlantic board here. It's been wild. And so it came down. The rain came down in D.C. Where did the folks have to seek shelter? Where did they have to go?
Well, it was interesting to hear people say, oh, Mother Nature. And I said, oh, that wasn't Mother Nature. That was the ancestors, and certainly thinking about that debacle.
Where'd they have to go, though? Where'd they seek shelter?
Yeah.
They had to go into the
African American Museum.
Yes, they did.
The one that they wanted shut down and all the things. Yeah. Coincidence. And again, it's Black folks to the rescue in some form. We're good enough to nurse our master's children. We're good enough to be nannies to their children, their most prized possession. But we can't drink from the same water fountain from that. Doesn't make sense.
I heard something on social media, read something on social media just the other day. When they're talking about, why the African American Museum is too woke. It's too negative. There's all negative things in there. And they're like, when are they going to, it's too progressive, too liberal. When are they going to put some more conservative things in these Smithsonian museums? And the question is, what's progressive history and what's conservative history? Like, what is getting more play? History is innately progressive, right? Because history you learn from. And some people comment, what do you want to see in the museum? You want to see the KKK? You want to see the hoods? Well, those are in the museums.
Well, they own all the museums anyway. How
Mhm.
many museums do they want that has their history and their information, European diaspora, so to speak, right? And so I don't know. That's a lot of that be so much rhetoric that they create, and people just go with that talking point. And literally everything that you look at has their stamp and their fingerprint on it. Like, what else do y'all? It goes to the conversation that what is it that you got against us? Like,
Mhm.
why do you hate us so much? Like, literally, we got one museum,
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
And
one
really, it's
museum.
not black
Enough.
information or black history. It's American history,
Yeah, yeah. I don't
and
like that.
many folks don't want to accept what
Yeah.
America's history looks like and what it's done to black folks and how it's affected black folks in a negative way. You know.
100%. I think we have to start using terms like that. The more that we say black, 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 the more they have a reason to label, right? The more we say America, 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 you can't argue, oh, it's too black because we're using their terms. And I think that that is the strategy we need to start looking at. How are we defining certain things? We don't have to use the word race anymore. We can just use this is the history, right? Let it speak for itself. I think the racism speaks for itself.
And when we do say black history, I feel like it does allow some separation where I don't have to take ownership because that's black history versus, not American history.
I agree, but I think America, just to put, no, I agree with you. That it's not a real pushback. I just say that there's too much white fragility.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much white fragility. And if we know this, right, then again, how long have I been saying we need a project 2025? We need a project. We need some type of strategy. And a lot of those strategies is something that, remember, we know it. They don't have to. So we know that this is black. We don't have to tell them that it is. And we have to have our own strategies. I'm telling you, got to be the spook that's sat behind the door. I'm trying to tell you, literally.
Well, okay, I'm gonna try to end this on something more positive. Let's
Please
see what
do.
happens. Anybody watch the World Cup? Pay
A
attention to
little
it.
bit.
Maybe your first time experiencing a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
So it only happens every 4 years. It just happened to be hosted by North America, right? So games in Canada, Mexico, United States of America, and FIFA. There was a lot of Europeans coming to the United States of America having a good time. They were enjoying the food. They were enjoying the culture. They were enjoying the sights. And so much of that food and culture they were loving comes from who?
Us.
Yeah, I mean, they were loving the barbecue,
Of
loving the
course.
soul food,
They
loving the
all
things.
we have the sauce. We always had the sauce, literally with the food. We
Yeah.
always had the sauce. We always had the seasoning. We always have the juice. We always have the lifestyle. We always have the coolness. We always have everything that puts the stamp on what makes things cool, which is the reason why they hate it so much. I think because they don't have it. And it's okay. Like if you don't have $50, but we're together, then you can give your $50 because we're together and it becomes our $50. It's okay because we're together. It's the same idea. If you don't have it, it's cool. You with me. You don't have to hate me because I got it. This the way. If we're community and we supposed to be together, America united, right? Then we can go together. You don't have to hate me. I just don't get it. And this is when I start to get on my soapbox because literally, I'm gonna leave it alone. But yeah,
We've always been the model, the trend centers, the ones to follow. And,
Yes.
sometimes that's a bitter pill to swallow, or you try to duplicate it or copy it, whether it's a speech, you know.
They done took our music. They took our music. They took hip hop from us. Literally, they claimed, they try to claim jazz,
Oh, they can never take jazz.
They claimed rock.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
claimed ice skating.
They claim country.
They claimed country. They claimed a lot of different things. They always take. Watch Black Panther.
Okay, speaking of movies, did anybody see Odyssey or hear about Odyssey?
I heard about it. I didn't watch it.
Not yet, but I definitely want
I
to
went
see
to
it.
go to go see Odyssey. I went to go see it, when it first came out because I wanted
Okay.
to support Lupita.
It was like 3 hours or something.
It was
right?
3 hours long.
Wow.
And I sat through it, and it was 3 hours that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Really? Okay.
And Lupita, I wanted to support her. She was getting a lot of flack because she was playing Helen of Troy, the face that could launch 1,000 ships. And folks were like, that's not a black woman. A black woman's face is not going to launch 1,000 ships. And the Odyssey is not real. It is fiction. And yeah, so I wanted folks to get over that. So I went to go support the underlying message. I'm not going to give anything away. The underlying message, the theme that you hear throughout the Odyssey is welcome your neighbor, treat the neighbor the way you want to be treated,
Okay.
feed the neighbor, house the neighbor, clothe the neighbor. And those who need to hear that message, either they're going to miss it completely in the movie, ignore it, or they'll never see the movie to hear the message. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for watching Slingshot the podcast. While we're taping this, hopefully you're going to see that the March on Washington for civil rights, for voting rights, is an anniversary, 63rd anniversary this year, August 28th. It's a Friday. Myself, Dyneco, our organization, we're taking the entire staff and we are going down to March on Washington as a voting rights organization. Our entire staff, we're going to head down to D.C. on August 28th, and we're going to celebrate the 63rd anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Lead architect Baird Rustin from Pennsylvania. This is, the day in which Dr. King gave the I Have a Dream speech, and we're going to meet at the Lincoln Memorial, and we're going to march on Washington, and we're going to march for our voting rights, for our civil rights, for our human rights, again, 63 years later.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the celebration.
And that's the celebration.
That's the celebration.
Yeah.
You said it, Dyneco. That's the celebration. So when we ask the question, what to the foundational Black American is the 250th? It is marching on Washington and continuing the struggle and continuing trying to enjoy this democracy that others have been able to enjoy for 250 years. We want it to. We want it to. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching Slingshot the podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let us know what you think. What to you is the 250th anniversary of this nation? Have a great day, everybody. I'm Kadida Kenner, and you're watching Slingshot the podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power.